2 weeks. I can make a Game of Thrones costume in 2 weeks, right? Hello and welcome! This week we are going to be tackling Margaery Tyrell's purple wedding dress from Game of Thrones, and we're going to attempt to do it in 2 weeks. Now, why am I doing this to myself, you might ask? Well, recently Armageddon Expo announced Jack Gleeson, you know, Joffrey, as a guest to their upcoming convention, and I really wanted to meet him in a Game of Thrones costume, but I no longer have any of mine, so help. In all seriousness though, I do think I can get this done in 2 weeks, purely because I have made this costume before. I made it once in 2015 and I loved it, and then I sold it and I regretted it ever since, and I always thought, yeah, I'll make it again one day. Today is this day, and we're going to do it in 2 weeks. This week we're just going to be making the base dress, so I'll be drafting the pattern, making the dress. Anyway, enough of me talking, let's get stuck into it.
The first thing I'm going to do for this project is draft the bodice part of the dress, and for that I'm using this vintage dressmaking book called Successful Dressmaking.
So here is the basic block pattern drafted out. All I need to do now is turn it into Margaery's dress, and by doing that I'm obviously going to take out half the back here because she doesn't have one. I'm going to extend the shoulder point, so we got a little point there, and I'll be bringing the neckline down like that. So those are the alterations I'm going to make. Then I'm going to test the paper pattern and then make a mock-up out of the bed sheets here to see how it's fitting. Alright, let's get started. Alrighty, so this is the paper mock-up. The paper mock-up never looks like it actually fits the mannequin properly because obviously fabric moves in such a different way, so I'm going to try it out of the fabric now and see how it looks. And here it is out of fabric. As you can see, the fit is totally different. And there is the back. Unfortunately, I can't do anything more until the skirt pattern arrives, and it should hopefully be here later on this afternoon, so fingers crossed I can actually get some work done on that, but yeah, I'm happy with it.
I did make a few minor adjustments to the mock-up, such as lowering the neckline and widening the sleeve holes, and of course adding the point to the shoulder. Here I am trying it on myself to see if I like how those adjustments are. Now I've only altered one side of it, that being this side here, and yeah, so far so good.
Hello! So once again I have been waiting longer than overnight for overnight shipping. I've been waiting so long, in fact, that not only was I able to make this little Rapunzel replica dress for one of my nieces, but I was also able to make this shirt for my husband. That's how long I have been waiting for my overnight shipping to arrive. Anyway, it's here now. I had to reorder this pattern because, well, the one that I actually have in my possession right now is missing all of the skirt panels from it from when I originally made this Margaery dress in the first place. Here it is. I have it now. Let's finally get this mock-up finished, eh? Actually, I'm just going to jump in to tell you guys something here. This pattern here, E, is the better shape for the Margaery train. It's got more of the straight front with the beaver tail. However, when I made it originally the first time, I used view F here. I much prefer the flare of this train and how it fits my body than how this one fits me. So once again, I am going to be making it with F, but if you did want to make this more accurately, go with view E.
So the first thing I'm doing with the pattern here is ironing all the pieces nice and flat, and that's because I have to tape some of the pieces together because they weren't long enough to have been printed in one sheet. After taping everything together, I then got out my handy dandy bed sheets and began cutting out the pattern pieces.
I have once again run out of bed sheet, but you can see how she's looking. I've only got the back panel there that's missing. Yeah, so far really happy with how it's coming together. I'll just have to wait until I get some more bed sheets so I can cut that back panel and see how the whole thing looks and try it on. Hello, so it's a new day and I just got back from the op shop in town. I have another duvet so I can finish the back half of this dress.
Alrighty, so let me walk you through me trying on the mock-up for the first time. First of all, please forgive me for trying it on over the top of my clothes. It is absolutely freezing here at the moment. So the first issue that I had with the fit of it was in the waist. As you can see, it is far too large for me here, and this was after cutting it out to my recommended size. And this is me pointing out to you that I've only made alterations to one half of the dress bodice.
Wig just arrived. As you can see right now, it is very much giving Claudia from Interview with a Vampire, but nothing that loosening these curls out and a little bit of styling won't be able to do. Side note though, this wig took the same amount of time to arrive from China to New Zealand as it did to get those things overnight shipped to me from the exact same town, right? Like, I live in the town that I got the stuff overnight shipped from, and this wig came from China in the same amount of time. Ridiculous. Anyway, be sure to look out on my channel. I'll be doing a short on how I style this wig, so if you're interested in that, that'll be going up soon. It's so bouncy.
Anyway, it's finally on to the real thing. Now, I scored huge at an op shop with this fabric, a whole roll of it for $3. The only bummer thing about it is that it is thermal backed curtain fabric, but I'll deal with that later, it's not a problem. And obviously, first things first again, we cut out all of the pattern pieces and then transfer any notches or markings that may be on them, such as the darts. I then sew the darts under the bust together and then just piece it all together piece by piece and sew the rest of the dress together. After the dress is mostly sewn together, I then install an invisible zip into the back of the skirt. With the zipper in place, it's now time to put the lining fabric in. Same steps as before, we cut it out, we mark the notches, we sew the bust darts in. Oh, but for something completely different, we actually overlock the edges of the skirt first before sewing those together, just to give them a nice finished edge, and it's so much easier to do it at this point in the construction than it is later. Anyway, with the parts sewn together, iron the seams flat, and join the bodice to the skirt. Finally, sew the actual lining into the dress itself. Before turning it right way out, I use my pinking shears to trim away all of the curved edges just to make it nice and easier. Next, it's time to sew up the side seam, which I do first on the machine. And after sewing the second one, I then hand stitch the inside. Before finally adding some snaps to the top, and she's done.
And there you have it. That is how I made the base dress of Margaery Tyrell's purple wedding dress. Where do I start with this one? Okay, so first things first, I hate how stiff it is. I knew this was going to be a problem going into it using a thermal lined curtain fabric. I didn't expect it to be as bad as it is, and that's really bumming me out because I feel like it is doing no favors for my shape of body and is sort of making me look a lot larger because of how it just flares out at the hips and just is really, really stiff. So one thing I'm going to look into doing is getting some fabric softener and just hopefully we can bring some movement. Yeah, just hopefully we can get it less stiff, you know, that's the main goal here. Second issue, the snaps in the back. Now, the only reason I put snaps in the back is because I couldn't find my hook and eyes. However, I have since found hook and eyes and immediately replaced because it is popping at the slightest breeze at the moment, and that is just, it's not really safe, is it? Things I do like about it, I love the pattern that's actually on the fabric itself. I like how my pattern has turned out. I think that worked really well. And I think, yeah, just once I solve the issue of the stiffness, I'll be liking this thing a whole lot more. So be sure to tune in next week. I will be decorating it. All of the vines are going on, all of the thorns, all of the leaves, and the 300 roses in the back. I'm hoping to get that done this week. Pray for me. It's possible, surely. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss when that goes up. If you like this video, please chuck a like on it. It does help. And yeah, I'll see you guys next weekend. Bye-bye. In all serious.
You see my bright pink shoes? Hold on, I forgot. Oh man. Chris. I popped everything. Thanks, Poppy.